Sorry, I was still on mute. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with all of you as well. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Heather Walker, and I'm an industrial organizational psychologist. I've dedicated my career to really helping people understand what actually contributes to and detracts from their professional effectiveness. And I'm so excited to be here with you today to talk about a topic that affects all of us, which is support. Specifically, the 5 types of people that you want in your corner at work, people who are going to help you grow, help you navigate challenges, and really get the resources and recognition that you deserve. And I'm going to focus today on my talk on the what, and Jim is here to facilitate a conversation about the how. How do we build those connections with local system and community leaders? So, all good stuff. And before we get into strategies, I really want to know where everyone's at. So if you could, if you manage a team, I'd love for you to just stretch out your fingers and type team in the chat. And if you don't have any direct reports, I want to know that too. So if you don't have any direct reports and you just manage yourself, go ahead and type me in the chat. Okay. It looks like we have a pretty good mix. We even have a couple of people in here who manage students. That's awesome. I love that. Thank you. Thank you for chiming in. What I'm going to share today applies whether you're a team member or you're a manager, because at the end of the day, we all need support for the things that we want to do at work. And I really want you to know that I didn't always understand how critical that support was. So I'm going to share a little bit about my story as well. And really a time when I struggled with this myself and I had to kind of navigate and figure this out. When I started and really stepped into a management role, I was super excited. Was anyone else super excited when you first stepped into a management role? If you were, I'd love for you to just put something in the chat. For me, it was a promotion, and I was already familiar with the company. I knew what needed to be fixed and improved, and I was so ready to just step in, hit the ground running, get things going. I had even spent years working hard to get to that point. And for me, it felt like, wow, I'm finally in this position to create some real change. I'm sure many of you probably had that feeling when you joined Project Echo and you're like, yes, I am finally in a position to create real change. But it didn't take very long for reality to hit me. I quickly realized that being a great manager wasn't just about leading my team. It was about sort of navigating competing priorities. It was about office politics. It was about power dynamics. I had inherited a team of people. Some of them had been with the company for 20 plus years. I was in my 20s at the time, right? Some of them had just graduated. I had to get all of them on the same page with my new vision, my priorities, and I had to show them that I was there for them and that I was invested in their success. And I was constantly competing with other managers for resources, fighting for more budget, asking to get more people on my team, and trying my best to get leadership to give my priorities attention. Sometimes it felt like this never-ending game of chess, and I had to think 3 moves ahead just to make sure that my team had what they needed. And at the same time, I was also juggling what I thought was best for my team with what my manager expected, and we weren't always on the same page. I'd worked really hard to create a plan that would help us move the needle, only to find that leadership wanted something different, or that they wanted everything to be done in like 90 days, when I knew that realistically it was going to take at least 6 months. And then I had my peers. I had my peers to deal with. I'm just letting y'all know about the landscape here. I wanted to be a team player. I wanted to make it really easy for my team to work with other teams, so we weren't siloed, because we all know silos are no good. We don't want silos. And this was especially important because I worked in HR and I was in charge of learning and development for the organization. We served everyone. Everyone wanted something from us. But I started to notice that some of the other managers were friendly to me in front of me, but when it was time to advocate for their teams, they were ruthless. I mean, gloves, wraps, everything. We're fighting. Forget about collaboration. And I had to be really mindful around them because if I wasn't careful, I'd get shut out of conversations that directly impacted my work and my team. And even though I wasn't in a direct service role myself, I still had to make sure that employees had the skills that they needed to meet consumer needs. So I was in committees and I did work through committees as well. And there I was trying to make my team happy, trying to keep my peer relationships intact, and trying to ensure that our work was actually making an impact on the community. But at the same time, I felt kind of isolated because I was so used to getting things done and keeping my head down before I got promoted, right? That I hadn't fully appreciated the power of building something called relationship equity. So, relationship equity is the value that you build in your professional relationships over time. It's the trust, the goodwill, the credibility that you get when you're consistently adding value, supporting other people, showing up for other people in meaningful ways, ways that they can look at and they can say, yes, I appreciate the support that I was provided here. That's relationship equity. And the stronger your relationship equity, the more people are going to advocate for you, open doors for you, and include you in those important conversations. So it's really about access in a lot of ways. Access to the information, the people, the resources that you need to be really effective in your role. So I'm so excited for you all, and I'm looking forward to the conversation about this a little bit later on into the presentation. So speaking of, when we think about these challenges, let me go back. Out of all of those challenges that I mentioned, which one really shows up most in your world? Go ahead and put it in the chat. I'm very curious. Out of all of the challenges that I mentioned, what seems to affect you in your work? Isolation, thank you for sharing that. Okay, I'm seeing isolation, competing priorities. Ooh, competing priorities is coming in strong right now. Politics. Yes. Okay, this is interesting. Limited resources. Power dynamics. Yeah. What's interesting is they don't teach us in school how to navigate power dynamics and office politics and all of that. I feel like it should be a part of our curriculum. Yes. Okay. Thank you for sharing this. One of my roles in human resources involved overhauling our onboarding program. And when I started to do some research on this, I stumbled into a framework that was released by SHRM. SHRM stands for the Society of Human Resource Management, and it outlines a best practice called new hire socialization. New hire socialization. And the idea is that most companies focus on getting people up to speed with policies, processes, technology, but work actually happens through people, right? So new hire socialization is about bringing people into the fold so they know who they need to connect with to get things done, connecting them with mentors and coaches who can inspire them, and having a manager who's actually invested in helping them acquire everything that they need to fully engage in what they need to do. So it's all about getting people up to speed with the social fabric of the organization. And the good news is that we can all start to build our networks from where we are now. Even if you've been with your organization for many years, even if you've been doing this for a while, you can start where you are. So I learned personally that being great at your job is only one part of what we should focus on. Because for most of us, again, work happens through people. And thank you for sharing that link in the chat. I appreciate that. You need people in your corner who are going to speak your name in rooms that you're not in, who are going to pull you into opportunities and advocate for you when decisions are being made. Otherwise, you're going to be working and you're going to be working really hard. I've been there myself, but you'll be playing the game at a disadvantage. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Lynette. So with the time that I have today, I only have about 15 minutes. I want to share the 5 types of people that you need in your corner. And as I go through this list, I want you to start to think about your current situation. What's working for you and what seems to be missing? And if you manage a team, for those of you who are managers out there, I encourage you to think about how you can actually help each person on your team start to build out their own support network outside of just you. You are one person and you are amazing, but they need a network. So let's start with the first group of this group is called guides. So these are people who have either been there before, they've got experiences to share with you to help you navigate the system, help you avoid mistakes. Guides can also be people who have a process that they use to help you improve the way that you approach your work. So in essence, guides are your coaches and your mentors. And if you don't have a guide, you can spend a lot of time on the sidelines watching people play the game, and you're trying to figure out what are they doing and why are they doing that? You start guessing and making assumptions about what's going to work, and your progress on projects and even your ability to make moves in your career can take longer, so much longer. So good guide saves you years of trial and error. And I want to do a quick self-check. So think back to maybe January. With all these self-checks, I want you to think about January, February, March. How are you doing? Do you have at least one person that you can go to for career or work-related advice? Have you received useful guidance in the last 3 months about that has actually changed how you approach your work? Has someone more experienced than you given you some advice that help you avoid making a really big mistake? And do you understand the unspoken rules of how things work in your company, your industry, your organization, here in this community? And are you figuring out everything all by yourself? Or do you have someone who can guide you? Next, we have sponsors. These are typically decision makers and leaders with a lot of influence. They have the power to open doors for you simply by saying that they trust you, they agree with you, they know that you're ready and people should listen to what you have to say. And when the stakes are high, you can count on them to pull you past whatever barrier that you're facing. Sponsors and decision makers can include your manager, your board members, executive staff, other leaders if you're working on a committee, for example. Sponsors can advocate for you. They can make sure that your work is seen by the right people. And if you don't have a sponsor, you might as well be invisible in those high-level discussions. So my questions for you, thinking back January, February, March, has someone in leadership spoken positively about your work to others? Can you name at least one person in power who would vouch for you if you needed support? Has your name come up in discussions about promotions, big projects, leadership opportunities? Have you had a direct conversation with the senior leader about your work? And this is the $1 million question, if you left tomorrow, would someone in leadership try to keep you around? So those are my questions to you, thinking about your sponsors. The next group we have is collaborators. And like sponsors, collaborators are colleagues, dare I say allies, people who support your ideas, they reinforce your credibility, but they may not have power to make the final decision. Imagine suiting up for battle or your next most stressful meeting. And for me, the most stressful meetings used to be the leadership meetings and the board meetings, because I noticed that there's a lot of like self-promotion going on in the meetings. but also people shouting out certain peers for doing things that were amazing, right? And I didn't have as many people shouting me out or shouting my team out. But it became very clear to me that those shout outs were actually strategic and intentional. They wanted to grease the wheels to make it easier to get approval for certain requests later on in the meeting. And y'all, as I got higher up in the organization that I was in, I even started to discover that people meet. They meet before big meetings to get on the same page and to agree to reinforce and validate whatever the other person is saying in that meeting. And I used to balk at this, but now I understand that it's so much easier to push ideas forward when you have other people backing you up. That's a part of the game. And those are the kinds of politics that we don't learn about in school. But for it to work, your peers actually need to see that you want to partner with them, for them to want to partner with you. Makes sense. So thinking about your collaborators, let's check in. Do you have coworkers who actively support what you share in meetings? Have you and a peer agreed to support each other's work? Have you partnered with anyone lately to move something forward? And do your coworkers trust you? Do they value your input? Do you feel like you have allies? All right, let's look at the next group. These are your connectors. Every organization has people who are in the in group and people who are in the out group. Connectors are the kind of people who have insider knowledge, right? They hear about things before they happen. People tend to rely on them for the inside scoop. And what's cool about connectors is that they can warn you about a decision before it's even announced. They can let you know how people are going to feel about a decision that you're thinking about making too. They may not have a fancy title. They may not have a corner office, but when you have a good relationship with someone like this, you can easily find yourself knowing about opportunities before they even become public knowledge. So it's a very important group to have in your circle. And sorry. Check in. Let's check in. Do you know someone who has inside knowledge in your organization? Have you learned about an opportunity or a challenge before it was officially announced? Do you have someone that you can reach out to when you need insight or when you need feedback? Like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. How do you think people are going to take it? And has someone helped you prepare for a meeting or a project recently? Do you know about decisions, key decisions, or do you tend to find out about these things last minute? All right. Last group, and this is the group that is on here last, but is not the least important group at all, right? This is the last group that I want you to keep an eye on. This is the group of your internal customers and your external consumers. These are people who benefit from your work, and they also validate your impact through testimonials, feedback, and real behavioral outcomes. If you don't understand their needs, you're going to spend time working on solutions that they don't want and they don't need. They are not going to get excited about what you have to offer, and you may see limited improvement. As a learning and development professional myself, I had a lot of internal customers, and they all had different needs. For instance, we had managers who were over direct service areas who wanted their people to see as many clients as possible in a day because that's actually what our income depended on. And they essentially wanted everyone to do their jobs faster with limited errors, but they didn't have time to have them pulled out for training. So they wanted training support, but they didn't want people to step away from their caseloads for that. So we had to get really creative and start to prioritize just-in-time micro learning when possible for our clinicians. So when you're thinking about your customers, your internal customers, when you're thinking about your external consumers, so much has changed. The environment has changed so much, even just this year alone. So are you still in touch with them? Do you clearly understand? Can you articulate what they need from you? Have you made some adjustments to your work based on the direct feedback that you get from them? Are you regularly asking for feedback to make sure that what you're working on is useful and it's still relevant? And have you received any positive feedback from them yet? So these are all really important questions to ask yourself so that you can make sure that you're taking some time to think about your relationship equity, because the amount of support that you get is directly tied to your relationship equity. The more people know you, trust you, and advocate for you, the easier your job is going to be. If you're missing even one of these relationships, you're going to feel like you're constantly fighting an uphill battle. And I think most of us understand this at some level, but we don't all recognize how it impacts our ability to be effective at work. And I talk to people all the time who fall into that camp. They're like, I don't get it. I work hard. That should be enough. But the relationships are important too. If you don't have sponsors, connectors, collaborators, people advocating for you, people who can shorten that learning curve for you, you're always going to feel like you have to fight for every inch of progress. So to recap, here are a few signs that you might be missing one or more of these key relationships. If you constantly hear about changes too late, you have to scramble to adjust. If you keep asking for resources, but your requests seem to fall on deaf ears, or I've even seen people get passed over for promotions because their manager didn't value them and they didn't have anyone else in their corner to vouch for them. So I'm saying all this, I don't want to leave us on a negative note, because on the flip side of this, when you build the right support system, you're going to start to get requests to work on really interesting projects. You don't have to chase every promotion, every resource, because you have people in your corner who are pulling you into these experiences, these really cool experiences. And it's not like just a switch that you flip. It's actually more like a dial. I personally had to get to the point where I stopped fighting office politics and I started recognizing that I was operating from a mental model that was holding me back, not anyone else, me. So here's a reframe that actually helps me, and hopefully it'll help you too. With the right relationships, you don't have to chase opportunities, they come to you. I'm working on a course on how to build and strengthen each of these key relationships, and I plan on including a diagnostic tool to help you troubleshoot certain relationships and even include some conversation guides in there, because I know this is a real challenge that a lot of us struggle with. And you want to do the work. You've got the expertise, and you just want to make sure that your work has an impact. And this is a piece of it. And I'd love to get your feedback on the course. So if you're interested in being included in the free beta group, no charge to you, please go ahead and scan the QR code on the screen, add your email to the list, and I'll let you know when it's ready. Thank you all for your time today. I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Thanks, Dr. Walker. Really, that you have a soothing voice, and so we loved and great information at the same time. That's leads to wanting to listen all day. And this recording will be posted on iEcho at the end of the day, and as are the slides already on there. We are going to hear more from you a little bit later during the discussion, where everyone will have an opportunity to ask questions. Really enjoyed learning about the relationship equity piece and the 5 types of supporters in your work. Is such valuable information.